All right, welcome back. I want to do a little bit of a fun video today talking about tracks that I would like to see added to the 2025 schedule with high limit racing. Now, I'm not sure, if the schedule's already been completed, if it's done, if it's ready to go, and we're just waiting for, PRI or whatever to release it. I have no idea. I have no insider information on that. And I'm not really trying to petition, I'm not trying to call Brad Sweet right now and say, hey, Brad, watch my video and put these tracks on the schedule, right? I just think it would be fun to have some of these tracks on the schedule. I feel like they kind of fit the bill of high limit racing and what high limit is trying to do. And that's go to different places that, sprint cars, I feel like that's been a lot of the places we've been to this year is places where sprint cars haven't been a ton. Obviously, we've been to some stalwarts in sprint car racing like Lakeside and Eldora and, places like that. But we've also gone to some tracks where they haven't seen either sprint cars in a long time or sprint cars ever. A couple of tracks that that kind of remind me of that. RPM Speedway in Texas, we went there, fantastic race. Southern Oklahoma Speedway, pretty good race there as well. Went to Salina for the first time in a long time. Now there's some other tracks that I can't remember off the top of my head right now, but that swing through Oklahoma, Texas, and Arkansas, that was a really fun swing that we had. I wish we could have gotten Texarkana 67 in. Hopefully that's back on the schedule next year so we could check that one out. But I wanted to, put some tracks on the board here that I think would race really well. A lot of the tracks on the board today, I have never been to before. I have been to a couple of them, but I've watched videos from whether that's late model racing or non-wing sprint car racing or, modifieds or maybe another kind of lower division or non-national touring sprint car series as well. And I thought, man, these would be really good tracks for high limit. They're small, they're dicey, they're, tight bull rings or things like that. There's a couple on here that are a little bit bigger, especially the very first one I'm going to talk about. But that one, I feel like it just makes too much sense. So the first two, I have a very small explanation about why I want them on the schedule. And so without further ado, let's go into the first track. So at number 10, and I don't really know if this is in order per se, but we'll just say it is. Sure, this is in order. So here we go. Here's the first one. Okay, so Las Vegas Motor Speedway's dirt track. I know what you're thinking, Chase. Las Vegas in the past has not raced very well. Now, I will agree with you on that. But with the branding of high limit racing, I feel like this would be the perfect track to either start the season or end the season at some point in time. I don't know which one would be better, starting or ending, maybe both. I have a gambling problem. Not really, not too bad, but I do like to gamble. I like to have fun, and Vegas is a fun place to do it. I feel like you would almost go there, not even for the racing, it'd be there for a good time. Maybe the end of the season would be better to have the banquet there as well. But I think Vegas just makes too much sense with the direction that High Limit's going in, with all the gambling, things that are going on with the series. I think it would be a really fun week to have. And there hasn't been sprint car racing as far as a national tour going to Vegas in a really long time. So would be maybe a pretty big deal to have, a big time sprint car series come through there, maybe on NASCAR weekend. I'm not sure. But I don't know. What do you guys think? Let me know what your thoughts on Vegas. I know it doesn't race the best, but I think it would be a really fun venue to have sprint cars back at, especially with the high limit branding. Now, the second one, and I'm just going to put this one on here because it's my number one favorite track, and I just want it to be on there because I love this place. So that's kind of the only reason it's even on the board, and that's Hopstad or Tri-State Speedway, Hopstad, Indiana. My favorite racetrack in the entire country. If you've seen my video, my top 10 tracks, you know that this one is on the list. Obviously, the Outlaws go there right now. They go once a year. I think there should be more wing sprint car races at Hopstad. The IRA went there earlier this year. They had a great race, a great turnout, and I don't see any reason why High Limit should be able to go there, right? I think Indiana, it's obviously known for non-wing sprint car racing. They got Indiana Sprint Week going on right now, but there's no reason we can't have 2 or 3, wing sprint car shows going on there throughout the year. And I think the fans would certainly come out and support, if High Limit came to town with all the drivers that we have on the tour. So Las Vegas and Hopstad to lead things off. And now we'll move on to the state of Wisconsin. And this is a track that I've never been to, but I've always wanted to visit. And it's a historical racetrack as well, and that is Angel Park Speedway. So Angel Park, the All-Stars went there. I don't know if the Outlaws have ever been there. I mean, if they did, it was a long time ago. But the All-Stars went to Angel Park. IRA obviously goes there a lot throughout the year. The Badger Midget Series, it's just a really unique track, right? I mean, the old Pepsi Nationals, that was a huge midget race back then. I've watched a lot of videos of Angel Park. I actually driven by the track, I think. When I was on the Outlaw Tour, we were going to Beaver Dam or something. I can't remember what track it was, but we drove right by Angel Park, and it's a track that I think would put on a really good show with High Limit. The Wisconsin fans were begging. They were dying. They were on their knees begging for a High Limit race in their state. And hopefully next year we can deliver that. I think Angel Park would be a great place to do it. And this is not the only, let me double check it. This is not the only Wisconsin track that I have on the board here. Angel Park Speedway would be a really good addition to the High Limit Racing schedule in 2025, in my opinion. Now, the next track, we're going back to Indiana. So it's a lot of Indiana and a lot of Illinois tracks that you'll see here on the board today. And this place also hosted an IRA and Maverick Series race earlier this year, and that was the Bloomington Speedway in Indiana. So Bloomington Speedway, obviously very well known for the non-wing sprint cars they have there, have not had very many wing races at all over the last 10 years, I would have to think. You know, they have 305s that run there. The IRA ran there this year. Jacob Allen won. It was a really, really good track. The surface is always really, really good. I mean, is it a quarter mile? Might be a third mile. I think it's a quarter mile, but you know, with High Limit, I just think of all the tracks we've been to this year, and it kind of just fits the bill. It fits right in with all the tracks we've been to. A lot of smaller ones, 1/3 miles, 3/8, quarter miles, you know, and that's where I feel like High Limit's a little bit different from the Outlaws. The Outlaws go to a lot of half miles throughout the year, right? And in my opinion, sprint car racing is better on tracks like the ones we have on the board so far. And Bloomington really does fit the bill, especially when they get that surface right. It is one of the raciest joints in the entire country. And so it's at number 7 on my schedule, you know, I guess my wish list. I should have put that up here, wish list for the 2025 schedule. Next on the board, we're going to go back to Wisconsin, and they just had an absolute banger of a race here just last weekend with IRA, and that's the Plymouth Dirt Track in Wisconsin. So the Plymouth Dirt Track, I have never been there. You know, the All-Stars went there a couple of times, but obviously IRA, that's kind of one of their main stops throughout the schedule. And man, did that race they had this last weekend, they absolutely put on one hell of a show. You know, I watched the highlights right before I made this video. It said like race of the year as the title, and a race of the year for at least the IRA. And I mean, it was sliders every single corner. I really like the on the infield, they have like the tires that are kind of like half buried down there instead of like having a full-blown tractor tire. The tires are kind of buried, a little bit like Cedar Lake. And I think that's really, really cool addition. The guys can roll the bottom, hop over the tires. You really got to slow down to hit the bottom, which is something I've always been interested in. And they build a really good cushion up next to the wall as well. So I'm going to go with the Plymouth Dirt Track at number 6. I know maybe I'll get some new Wisconsin subscribers after this video, but Wisconsin has a lot of really good tracks, and I hope that High Limit can make its way into that state next year. Now, number 5 on the list, and what do you know? We're going back to Illinois. This is a track that I have been to in the past. And that, oops, I just totally messed that up. Oh, no. Okay, I'm going to have to do a little bit of erasing with the thumb there. And it's the Macon Speedway in Macon, Illinois. Can you imagine a winged 410 touring series with some of the best drivers in all of sprint car racing going to Macon? I just imagine that. If you've never seen a video at Macon, just type in like MOA sprint cars at Macon, or I think the All-Stars went there a few years ago, or watch a midget race, watch a late model race. The place is absolutely crazy. I love Macon. I haven't been there in a really long time. I went there for a Power Eye Midget show in like 2016 maybe, but I've seen a lot of good highlight videos ever since then. It's small. It's one of those places where you walk up to the track and you know that you're going to see a good race no matter what is in the field. That night that I was there for the midget race, there was a field of 7 late models, and they may have been a better show than the midgets. I mean, it was crazy what they're able to do there. Such tight confines, and it just puts on incredible racing. And like I said, with the rest of these things, I mean, it just fits right in with what High Limit's trying to do, is just kind of show how good sprint car racing can be, right? And the way to do that is to put these guys on tracks like these, right? These small bull rings, 3/8 miles, pound of cushion, run the bottom, sliders, close quarters action. Macon provides all of that at number 5. Now, number 4, This is one that I have not been to, but I remember watching the USAC National Sprint Car race there from a few years ago, and I've always wanted to go, and I thought that Wing Sprint Cars would put on a great show at this place, and that is Path Valley. Now, I didn't do enough research on it, but I watched that video. Is Path Valley in Pennsylvania? I'm pretty sure it is. It is a really, really small track. The USAC Sprint Cars went there. And I remember the battle between, I think it was Tanner Thorson and CJ Leary and a couple of other guys up there at the front of the field, throwing sliders every single corner. The track was really, really good that night. I couldn't really find many videos from recent times with Wing Sprint Cars there, but I can't imagine it would be much different. I mean, it's kind of like Macon. It's a small track that it would be hard to have a bad race, especially when you put the best drivers on that place. The other thing is, like a place like Path Valley, they don't get to see, major, wing sprint cars. The best drivers come into that place ever, right? I think it would sell out immediately. I think there would be 1 million people there, and I think the racing would be really, really good. And it's one of those tracks that, one of the things I was going to say was, like when we went to RPM earlier this year, nobody had ever heard of RPM, and it turned out to be a banger of a race. And it put that track almost on the map. Like people were still talking about it, right? But man, that race in RPM, Corey Day, Kerry Madsen, Anthony Macri, what a great race. I never even heard of RPM, man. We should go back there again next year. We need to find more tracks like that. And I think Path Valley could definitely fit the bill there. So Path Valley at number 4. I hope that makes it on the schedule. I have heard some rumblings of that. I'm not going to say it's 100%, positive it's going to happen, but it would be a really, really welcome addition to the series. And hopefully somehow they can make that one happen. Now, number 3, I have never been to this one either, and it's kind of a long name, so it might take me a minute to write it. We're going back to the state of Illinois, and the next 3 tracks are either Illinois or Indiana. So number 3 is going to be, they changed the name of the track, I believe, here recently. The Brownstown Bullring in Illinois. So I just watched a video. I've watched a lot of videos of this place, right, over the past couple of years. But I just watched the Summer Nationals late model race there. And it's one of those tracks that you got to get up on the wall if you want to be fast. And it's kind of weirdly shaped with how they have the bottom and the tractor tires down there. I don't really know how much else to explain it, other than it really seems like it's a track that if you put sprint cars on it, it would be very good. Now, I'm not sure if this is the same Brownstown that hosted the No Way Out 40, or is that the Brownstown in Indiana? I'm not sure, but this one, I mean, it was a great race between like Tyler Erb and Tanner English. I know you'd probably never hear those names on this YouTube channel, but there you go. But Brownstown Bullring in Illinois, it's a track that probably does not see sprint cars all that often, if ever. And I think it could be one of those markets and one of those places that High Limit would like to, branch into and get in there and try and make something work. So Brownstown Bullring in Illinois. If you're watching this video and you go to that track weekly, welcome to the show. Hopefully you guys are able to make it on the list next year. I have no idea. I'm just putting a wish list together. It might happen. It probably won't, but at least you made it on the board. Okay, number 2, and I just watched this race last night with USAC, and I mean, this place, I don't know what they do there, but I mean, it is absolutely fantastic. Every single race they have there with either midgets or non-wing sprint cars. Circle City in Indiana. If you watched that USAC race last night, I mean, what more can you ask for? I mean, you got to get up there and absolutely pound the concrete. And my favorite thing about non-wing sprint cars is how slow you have to hit the bottom and be perfect down there. And maybe when we go there, if it ever happens, we should try and move those tractor tires in. Shane Cottle, if you're watching, shout out to you. But Circle City, I cannot say enough good things. I've never been there, but I'm not kidding you, every race I've watched there, it seems like they nail the track prep. It's got 2 lines. It's really, really small. Now, the one thing I will say, they probably need to, improve the safety aspect of it. The wall is not exactly the safest, how they have like those blocks around the entire, outside. And then there's no catch fence on top of it. There's no catch fence at all in the corners of this place. And the backstretch opening is a little bit wonky, right? But I think if they made them some safety improvements, I think High Limit would definitely really, really want to go there. I mean, I don't know how many people it seats either. I'm not sure if that's an issue at all, but Circle City Raceway in Indiana has made the list. And now my number one track, and sprint cars have been there in the past. The problem is with this place, the fans don't really support sprint car racing there because it is such a late model track. But I feel like with Flow, with High Limit, with Lucas Oil Late Model Dirt Series, and all the late model factions they have with Flow and all that stuff, I think if you put a double show together with High Limit sprint cars and either Lucas Oil or some other late model series, I don't know all of them, if you put those together on one night and you ran the late models last, you ran the sprint cars first, you could have a sold out show, and it might be the race of the year at this racetrack, because it's just like Circle City, but it might be even better as far as them getting the track prep right every single time. And it is Fairbury in Illinois. So Fairbury Falls, whatever you want to call it, that Prairie Dirt Classic race they just had, you had guys coming from outside the top 20, making their way forward and battling for the lead, coming from the back to the front a couple of times. Bobby Pierce wrecked. He came back, still won the race. Fairbury, there was a race a couple of years ago with the Outlaws. I think the last time a national touring race went through there, a race between James McFadden, Brad Sweet, and Kyle Larson. Go watch the highlights of that one with the Outlaws there. It was nothing short of phenomenal. I mean, it's one of those places that when they built it, I don't know if they did it on purpose or what, but they got the specs just right. The corners are just perfectly wide. The track is the perfect size. Everything is what you would want to see at a dirt track to be entertained as a race fan. And there's no reason, there is absolutely zero reason that a national touring wing sprint car series should not be going to Fairbury every single year. Change my mind right now in the comment section below. Fairbury 100% needs to be on a national touring wing sprint car series schedule, and hopefully next year it happens with High Limit. The problem is, when the Outlaws went there, the fans just didn't support it. It's a late model track. It's late model country out there. They don't really care about sprint car racing, but if you put sprint cars on the same bill, as on the same card, on the same lineup as a late model series on the same night, and you plan the schedule out just right, I think you can make it work, man. I really do. Fairbury is number one on this list, and for good reason. I mean, I've ran it a lot on iRacing. I don't know if that means anything, but it's a great track on iRacing. And just watching that one World of Outlaws race they had there with McFadden, Sweet, and Larson, I don't know, man. I hope that Brad Sweet's talking to Michael Rigsby or whoever it is at Flow to try and make that happen for next year. And maybe we can, build something there and get some sprint car fans going at Fairbury. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know your tracks that you would like to see on the High Limit Racing schedule in 2025. What is your wish list? I want to hear your thoughts down in the comment section below. Please hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. And tonight it is the start of 360 Knoxville Nationals in Iowa. We'll have a recap of tonight's feature tomorrow here on the channel. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll talk to you again soon.